Hello there, you're watching The Press Preview, our first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. So it's time to see what's making those headlines with the columnist Carole Malone and the political editor at the Liverpool Echo, Liam Thorp. So welcome to both of you, nice to see you both, and you will be both with us until midnight, so it's good to have you here. So first of all, let's take a look at what's on the front pages then. And The Guardian leads with a report from the city of Mariupol. It describes conditions there as medieval, following what it calls relentless shelling from Russian forces. Chelsea Football Club's billionaire owner Roman Abramovich has been sanctioned by the government and told he has blood on his hands. That makes the front of the Metro. It's the same story for the Mirror with their headline, Blood Brothers. The Eye reports the government's accused him of destabilising Ukraine by supplying steel which may have been used to build Russian tanks. The Times also leads with Abramovich, mentioning Britain is the first country to sanction the billionaire. The Sun says Chelsea Football Club could go bust as a result of the Russian invasion, their headline, Skinsky. The Telegraph reports the British public will be asked to offer their homes to tens of thousands of Ukrainian refugees. And more than half of Ukraine's economy has shut down, and infrastructure worth $100 billion has been destroyed during the invasion. That's on the front of the Financial Times. And just a reminder that by scanning the QR code that you can see on screen during the programme, you can check out those front pages of tomorrow's papers for yourself while you watch us. But let's bring in now columnist Carole Malone and the political editor at the Liverpool Echo, Liam Thorp. So good to see you both. Welcome. Let's kick off with the front page of the Mirror, shall we, Liam? A lot of the front pages tomorrow devoted to Britain becoming the first country to sanction Roman Abramovich. Ministers have accused him of having blood of his hands because of what they say are his links to Putin, hence the headline in the Mirror, Blood Brothers. And I know that you interviewed the Prime Minister today. It's not only Beth Rigby that's talked to Boris Johnson today, but you too did talk with him, and you talked about this. So what did he tell you?
That's right, yeah. Boris Johnson was in Merseyside today. He was visiting a shipyard to make a separate announcement, but we obviously asked him about a number of subjects related to the ongoing crisis in Ukraine. And it was the big breaking news at the moment, at the exact moment, was that Roman Abramovich, the owner of Chelsea, had just been sanctioned, had his assets frozen, and of course all the impacts that come with that in terms of Chelsea Football Club. So I asked the Prime Minister why he had made this decision now. I pointed to the fact that there had been calls for action against Mr. Abramovich for some time, including in the House of Commons, and he said that there had been ongoing investigations into Mr. Abramovich and his ties with the Putin regime, and that they had just got to the point now where they had crossed the threshold to take this action. Now they were satisfied that he was indeed, did indeed have links to Putin's regime, and as you just pointed out before, there was potentially had benefited financially. And the other lines that have since subsequently come out, is that he may have been producing steel that may potentially have been used in Russian tanks that are committing some of these atrocities in Ukraine. So Boris Johnson said that it was quite an interesting point, really. He said that in the UK we can't move as quickly on things like seizing assets as in other countries, and this is something that he wants to speed up with the economic crime bill, which is coming to the Commons next week. So he said this process would have been faster after that. Other people, obviously his critics, believe that he just hasn't moved quickly enough on this, but he has moved today, and obviously the massive ramifications for Mr. Abramovich and Chelsea.
Well, yeah, and if we look at the Metro, Carole, blood on his hands is their headline. In fact, it's exactly the same headline on the Eye as well. I mean, how important is this speed aspect? I mean, some might say that these are very rich people. They've got the money to afford some really good advisors and lawyers, and they could shift their assets. There have been warnings of sanctions for some time.
Well, you're exactly right, Anna. There have been ones. They've had a 10-day head start, the oligarchs, on this to get their money out of the country. The EU has already frozen assets and imposed travel bans. We have been very slow to do that. And I don't know why it's that hard for us if the EU have already done it. But I think it's a really important step. But, targeting oligarchs is something that makes headlines. It's not necessarily the most effective way to wreck Russia's economy or its war machine. The most effective thing is to limit Moscow's access to the foreign exchange reserves. They exist to protect they exist to protect against an attack on the ruble. That would hurt Russia more than the oligarchs. This is something we're doing to make a point. But to be honest, I think a lot of them say in this country they've had a 10-day head start to get their money out. Many of them already will have. They're not multi-billionaires because they're not clever. They will have done already that. But I just think hitting banks and financial institutions will have a bigger impact. But the problem is, seizures take time, and we didn't move fast enough, and maybe it's going to take a lot more time before these things actually start to bite. There's an interesting story in the Telegraph Business tonight, where it says that Russia could actually default on its repayments within days. Now, if that happens, that would be the first time they've defaulted on a payment since 1917, since the end of the Bolshevik Revolution. So this would show that they're starting to be hit, but I'm just not sure.
Okay.
I just want to say
just
that,
very quickly,
that sanctions they don't necessarily enforce a leadership change or a policy change.
Sorry to rush you, Carole. We're a bit squeezed in this section, and I did want to get on to what the implications might be for Chelsea. Liam, what's your thought on this? I mean, they're not allowed to sell any more tickets for games. Their merchandise shop is closed. They'll be unable to buy or sell players on the transfer market. There are all sorts of restrictions now. They're kind of in limbo, aren't they? What does it mean for the future of the club?
Oh, it's in total limbo. There's reports coming out of Chelsea today that the players are understandably extremely unsettled. You've got to feel for staff members there who are worried about their jobs as well. As you say, the club shop closed. They're going to be limited in what they can spend on travel to matches, which particularly with upcoming games in Europe is obviously a huge concern. You probably wouldn't be surprised to think the manager, Thomas Tuchel, will be considering his future. This is a club that won the Champions League very recently. That Thomas Tuchel was the best manager in Europe. Things were going very swimmingly for them. I think, we've discussed on this programme before, football needs to take a long, hard look at itself. Roman Abramovich has been, in charge of Chelsea for 19 years, and football's never really paid much attention to him. The World Cup was held in Russia in 2018. It's going to be held in Qatar in 2022. Football for a long time has just looked the other way to these controversial figures, and it shouldn't have taken a war for this to be looked at more closely.
OK, we're going to take a break there. I can see you nodding there, Carole. So many issues that we can revisit again at 11, but let's take a break right now. And coming up, the economic impact of the invasion of Ukraine. That's coming up. Welcome back. You're watching The Press Preview. With me tonight, columnist Carole Malone and political editor at the Liverpool Echo, Liam Thorp. So welcome back to both of you. And Carole, we're going to kick off this section with the front page of the Daily Telegraph, because their headline is an interesting one. It says, British public to be asked to take in refugees. So what's the Telegraph saying about what's being proposed?
They're going to ask people, as you just said, to take in refugees. And I'm sure there will be thousands of members of the British public that will rally to this call, because I think this nation has been utterly devastated, touched, whatever, by what is happening there. But to me, this is the sign of a Home Office that has utterly failed to do its job. It strikes me that while I know the British public will respond to this, it strikes me that they're trying to foist responsibility for taking in refugees onto the British public. It is the government's responsibility to provide accommodation for the refugees, to get them sorted. Yes, the British public will rally, but this is not a solution. And one of the things was that the refugees have to stay with whoever they would be housed with for a minimum of 6 months. That's quite a big ask for a lot of people, for a lot of families. So for me, it just seems to me like they're slightly shifting responsibility onto a public that they know are devastated by this crisis and want to help. But it should be literally, we have a Home Office that is utterly inept. They have not been prepared for this. They knew it was coming. What they have done is shambolic, and it's shamed our country, actually, what they have done with refugees.
Okay.
And now they're saying, OK, you want to look after, you look after them. And that's not the way it should be.
Well, yes, and Liam, the paper says that ministers are going to launch a hotline and a web page where individuals, charities, businesses and community groups will be able to offer rooms to refugees who have no family links in the UK. What do you make of what Carole said? Do you think she's right, that it's basically the Home Office putting the responsibility onto members of the public that should be their own responsibility?
So I agree with Carole that the Home Office has been an absolute shambles and has created a sort of Kafkaesque nightmare for refugees fleeing a devastating conflict. We've seen some of the rigid ramifications they were putting on visa applications are just cruel, to be honest, for people who have left. I'm not sure I fully agree on the point about people taking in numbers, because that is happening all over Europe just because of the sheer scale of people coming in. And I know that people in this country do want to help. I pushed the Prime Minister on this point today, actually saying that actually there was a lot of people saying we do want to help, we do want to offer our houses up, but because of the miserly scheme that was being offered by the UK government, which I believe was actually trying to limit the number of people coming in, that there just wasn't that option. So I agree that in principle,
Okay.
the Home Office and the government should look after refugees, but I think it's understandable in this particular crisis that we're going to have to see people, opening their doors, and I think many will.
OK, and Carole, we've got very little time, but I do want to take in the front page of the Financial Times, a reminder of what's going on the ground in Ukraine. They say half of Ukraine's economy shut down as Mariupol counts war's human cost. We've only got about 20 seconds or so, but it's a reminder of the horror that continues. Yeah, go on.
The paper saying that assets worth $100 billion have been destroyed already in Ukraine since the invasion started. And already there is a huge shortage of money among people. People are attacking each other today in Mariupol for food. They don't have water, they don't have food, they don't have power. They were actually using snow as drinking water the other day. So they're in a mess. It is a humanitarian and a financial catastrophe.
And there'll be plenty more of that we will talk about at the top of the hour at 11. I'm very pleased to say you will be with us until about 11:45. So for the moment, Carole and Liam, thanks very much indeed.